Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. The Northwest Territories government was not prepared for the unprecedented 2023 wildfire season. That's according to a new report, the first third-party review of how the territorial government handled the season last year. The report examined the NWT Environment Department's response to the wildfires. It did not cover the evacuations. There are 25 recommendations, and now the GNWT is deciding what to do next. Luke Carroll has been covering the story, and he joins me now with more. Luke, tell me what some of the key points of this report were.
So it basically highlighted all the various issues the territory faced last year during the wildfire season. So this includes wildfire software modeling failures, not enough mental health supports for firefighters, not staffing enough local firefighters, and not enough training for the few staff that they had, Megan.
And I understand in the report as well, Luke, that there were a couple of case studies, including for the fire that devastated Enterprise. Well, what did you learn from that case study?
Yeah, so some of the strongest language in this report was, it's a 200-page report, but the strongest language was in this section. And it found that days before the fire that struck Enterprise hit, there were 600 people who were in town for the annual Jamboree. And that, as a result of the community not being aware of the threat that this posed, the territory's modeling was unable to predict the event that led to that fire taking a run at the community. And this, quote, lack of situational awareness created a dangerous situation, end quote. So the review found that there was so much going on at the time that things essentially fell apart. People weren't documenting the normal processes. The review says, given the circumstances, they understood why this happened, but it's still highlighted as a failure. This also highlights, the broader context when this entire situation was happening. It was an extreme drought. Fires were forming across Canada.
The reality is that there's that any fire agency would have struggled with what existed last year. Something that's been prevalent in the narrative of how wildfire suppression has developed is that we truly can control fire from the bottom up. The reality is that we can't. That fire is a force that is extremely powerful, and in the situation and the conditions that were present, there would have been degrees of struggle regardless.
Okay, let's talk then about some of the recommendations, Luke.
Yeah, so there were 25 in total, along with 17 opportunities for improvement. So some of the recommendations include investing in wildfire behavior software modeling that is current and nationally accepted, and increase the organization's emphasis on recruitment and retention of firefighters, and add a minimum of 2 firefighter crews, so essentially 40 additional staff. Now, the department did respond to some of those recommendations in the report, but it's unclear of how many exactly they would commit to. So during a technical briefing, a department head said they expect to adopt them all. The minister sounded a bit less committed, commenting on the cost and being able to put this all in immediately. But I asked the ones who crafted the report, MNP, whether they were satisfied with the GNWT's response and felt they would take these into consideration. And this is what they had to say.
First of all, our sense is that we were given full rein to provide independent, objective analysis, set of findings and recommendations to the department. They were received and understood what we were getting at. I did see the response to the recommendation. So my sense is that they're committed to learning from the experience, taking our work and doing what they can to improve.
Now, this is just the first of 2 reviews on the government's handling. The other is going to look at the Department of Municipal and Community Affairs, Megan.
Okay, Luke, thanks for all your work on this.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Luke mentioned 25 different ways to improve, 25 recommendations from this report. Let's take a look broadly at the methodology used for this review. So in total, 105 people participated. They were from the GNWT, municipal governments, and Indigenous communities, among other organizations. Interviews took place from January to June of this year, and they happened in all 5 regions of the Northwest Territories. Those interviews led to these 25 recommendations that we talked about for immediate action, and then those further 17 suggestions for improvement. Those are for the GNWT to consider over the next 1 to 3 years. It is a year later after this event, and the magnitude of the entire 2023 wildfire season is still present for many in the NWT. The Territory's Environment Minister was asked about the impact of the wildfires and how people are still being affected. Here's what he had to say.
You know, as I've been a lifelong Northerner, born and raised here, and certainly as I travel the highways and, you know, move around the north, it's certainly, I think the long-lasting impact is the impact to the land. You know, a lot of the large treed areas that we used to drive by on a regular basis are no more, and I think that you know, that has an impact right across the NWT. You know, in changes to the habitat for the animals and how it you know, will impact everyone that uses the land, and that's really a huge key resource for us up here.
That was NWT Environment Minister Jay McDonald speaking about the lasting impacts of the 2023 wildfire season. Let's take a look at some more of those impacts highlighted in the review. In total last year in the NWT, there were 306 wildfires. That should say wildfires in 2023 in the NWT. My apologies for that. Those wildfires last year consumed 3.4 million hectares. Now, during last year's season, 19 communities were evacuated. For reference, there are 33 communities total in the Northwest Territories. The season began early with record-breaking temperatures. 138 temperature records were broken in May alone. There were frequent lightning strikes, and the NWT saw the longest period without rainfall on record. Robert Dixon has been re-elected as Quannathi Inlay, or Chief of the Kluane First Nation in the Yukon. Chief Dixon has a long list of accomplishments, including signing the Kluane First Nations self-government agreement in 2003. He was also instrumental in the conception of the new school at Burwash Landing, and he signed the Memorandum of Understanding on the long-term conservation of sheep populations in southwest Yukon. The newly elected council was sworn in yesterday in Burwash Landing. Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated has unveiled its strategic plan and long-term vision. It has 7 priorities for NTI and Canada to address across Inuit Nunangat. They include improving health and wellness, fixing the housing crisis, and preserving Inuit languages. Jorgen Weaver Johansson is a consultant from Greenland who works with NTI. He says Inuit need to work together.
That's the most important part, because sometimes we as Inuit, also in Greenland, we are experts at tripping each other. So sometimes we need to understand that if we want to achieve something, we need to work better together, and we need to be unified, because whenever we are not unified, it is always other people's opinions that win.
Other priorities for NTI include improving child welfare, helping elders, and training Inuit for important jobs in various sectors. For 16 years, the Northern Lights Business and Cultural Showcase has brought together artists and businesses from across Inuit Nunangat. It's created opportunities to network and develop partnerships across the Arctic, but it's now being cancelled because of friction between Inuit organizations and the Nunatuavut Community Council. Samuel Watt reports.
This was the vision for the 2025 edition of the conference in Montreal, but that vision won't have the chance to become reality. The Baffin Regional and Labrador North Chambers of Commerce are discontinuing the event. The reason? Inuit Taparit Kanatami's opposition, among other groups, to Nunatuavut being there.
The event is never meant to be political. I think we get to a point sometimes where people make it political.
ITK, being the national body for Inuit, doesn't recognise Nunatuavut as an Inuit organisation. ITK refused CBC's interview request, so did Nunatuavut. The group represents 6,000 self-identified Inuit in South and Central Labrador who once identified as Métis. In a statement, Nunatuavut says it sees the event's cancellation as a result of ITK threatening to boycott. That, it says, quote, harms us all. The Labrador North Chamber of Commerce does work with Nunatuavut. The Chamber, however, also partners with the regional Inuit group, the Nunatsiavut government, which opposes Nunatuavut's claims of Inuit status.
One person isn't treated differently than the other. We remain who we are as a business association.
Last year's event in Ottawa drew 1,700 people nationally and internationally. Chris West says other options like choosing who can take part would have been problematic legally, but also with the purpose and mission of the event. So,
yeah, I would think it is the end of Northern Lights itself.
But he is looking at a smaller scale event focused on Nunavut. He remains hopeful that a path forward for the Labrador organisations is possible. That could be some ways away though, with Nunatuavut's recognition by the federal government as an Indigenous Peoples of Canada still unclear. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
Students from Inuvik, Northwest Territories are ready to get back to school next week. Over 160 backpacks loaded with school supplies were handed out on Sunday. The gifts were from the Arctic Food Bank and Muslim Welfare Canada. The CBC's Des Loreen has more.
This is our sixth drive. We've been doing it since 2018.
Abdullah Muhammad has been organizing the backpack giveaway since it began. He's lived in Inuvik for 33 years and strongly supports the youth of the community.
That's the future of our generation. That's the future of those are the leader of tomorrow. And without education, nothing is gonna happen. So it is very important to highlight the education.
Each backpack is prepared by grade to make sure the supplies are what is needed. Muhammad says he has about 40 or so backpacks left. If you'd like to pick one up, you can come down here to the Arctic Food Bank. Des Loreen, CBC News, Inuvik.
Oh, imagine how good the TV is gonna look now.
And spoiler alert.
No! Don't panic!
Don't panic!
Cut to. Well, we're not cutting to. What do ladies want to watch?
Look out! It's drama.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
Triple. Homicide accepted.
Everything all right here?
Yeah. Is there a problem?
We got a call about a disturbance.
I just think there's something really off about this guy.
I've lived through today, this day, before. I need you to believe me and tell me I'm not completely crazy.
What would you be prepared to do if you had one more chance?
Anything.
Welcome to Plan B Agency. Select your desired destination.
Breaking news that shapes your world. With local CBC Radio 1 Live to connect us closer to home. It's news you can trust, delivered when you want, where you want, on the CBC News app. Download for free.
Imagine how good the TV is gonna look now.
Oh, God!
This is incredible.
Did you know this?
As if.
Could the pressure be any higher?
Moments that are so on trend right now. Ticket pricing, artificial intelligence, being a Swiftie. Commotion, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
Some Yukoners are worried about the recent relocation of Wind River Hospice. The palliative care unit is in Whistle Bend Place, a long-term care facility. Earlier this summer, the unit was moved from one section of Whistle Bend Place into another, prompting concern about quality of care. Now, experts, officials, and residents are all pleading with the Yukon government to fix it. Virginie Ann has the details.
Come on. Not fun. Zooming on him.
This is how Susie Ann Barch spent the last few days of her husband's life, cuddled up with him in a bed at Wind River Hospice.
And we had all kinds of wall hangings and stuff. Yeah, it was, we made it beautiful for him. He went through that transition from it's not getting better to we just need to really recognize that this is the end of his life. So we were in Wind River Hospice for 7 weeks. Powerful. It was an incredible life-changing experience, made way less terrible by the fact that that facility exists.
Barch now worries this type of experience has been lost. On July 10th, with only 5 days' notice for families and staff, the Yukon government permanently moved patients out of the hospice into a repurposed section within Whistle Bend Place. That's to free up more beds for Yukoners who can't live independently, according to the government. But for some, the move comes at a price, as the new location wasn't designed for palliative care.
I was appalled when I was first told, because in all of the communications that had come from Yukon government, there was no mention that Wind River had been moved. And so the real concern is that the space, it's not for end of life. It's incomprehensible to me. I hope there's something else coming and folks at the end of their life are able to go back to that beautiful space that was purposely designed to help them, cross that bridge and continue on that journey.
The concerns echo what we've been hearing lately all across the territory. Can the Yukon provide adequate health services? Several health experts are saying no. The official opposition health critic Brad Caters says moving Wind River Hospice feels like a desperate measure to fix the issue. He says hospitals are lacking beds, which is putting pressure on continuing care, and overall, the quality of service suffers. The government says there has been no change to the level of care offered and that all required equipment is there. But for people who have experienced Wind River Hospice, that answer is not enough, including for Barch, who says dignity in end-of-life care shouldn't be tampered with. Virginie Ann, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Iqaluit City Council discussed a revised vehicle for hire bylaw at a council meeting yesterday, and it passed a second reading. It sets out a minimum and maximum rate for taxi businesses. The minimum rate is $1. The maximum rate depends on a variety of factors, like where the person is going in the city and the age of the person requesting a ride. The change was made so that businesses could establish a lower ridership fee without the city having to create a separate public transit bylaw. Sharing a cab was also discussed. The final reading for the bylaw will happen at a future council meeting. Also on the agenda yesterday, Iqaluit approved a waste metal collection program. It's meant to help get rid of waste lying around the city. That could be anything from unused cars, ATVs, and other metal debris. The CBC's Mahnur Mubarak has more.
The program involves temporarily removing tipping fees when residents drop off metal items at the city's landfill. It's a one-time program meant to beautify the city as well as increase public safety. Kyle Shepard is a city councillor who says while he doesn't like the city having to carry the cost of the program, it's important to let people know the program is taking place.
If there's derelict vehicles, we should be going to them and directly informing those people that this is an option for the next 2 months.
Councillor Romaine Stevenson was the only councillor to vote against the program, expressing concerns about unrealistic expectations for future landfill disposal, with people not wanting or expecting to pay once the program ends.
And they'll either not pay and wait or trash their vehicles again, because that's
basically learned behavior.
The waste metal collection program is expected to start on or before August 29th and will run until October 25th. The total cost for the project is $150,000. The city of Iqaluit has applied for funding for the project from the government of Nunavut, and will also submit a proposal request for funding available through the Canadian Northern Economic Development Agency. The city is also trying to work with the GN to look at other alternative sources of funding, which can include collecting import taxes to vehicles coming into the city and registration fees for vehicles to offset the cost of disposing vehicles. Mahnur Mubarak, CBC News, Iqaluit.
The 2024 Paralympic Games are officially underway in Paris, with the opening ceremonies wrapping up this evening. The CBC's Kwabena Oduro looks at how Team Canada is getting ready to reach the podium.
Canada.
4,400 athletes marched through the Champs-Élysées in Paris. It's the first time in the Games' history the athletes get to walk through the streets of the host city. Team Canada, led by Paralympic gold medalist Pat Anderson and Katarina Roxon.
This is our moment to, show Canadians in the world what we have and how, each one of us has a story about sort of being dealt a different hand than a lot of people in life.
A lot of people are really looking forward to having these games in whatever sport they're in. Having such a crowd there, you're going to see amazing results. That's all I'm going to say.
The Paralympic swim team is looking to dominate at the Games, just like their counterparts at the Olympic Games. Para-swimmer Aurélie Rivard is no stranger to being on the podium. She's Canada's most decorated para-swimmer. She says she and Roxon were cheering on Summer McIntosh during the Olympics, and now she's hoping to carry that momentum over.
Kat, Roxon and I were watching Summer race, and we couldn't sit down. We were screaming, we were jumping, and that excitement, I think we remember. I think we want to carry with us here. If I think about the little girl that I used to be, I can't believe that the person I'm talking about right now is me. But it does feel like it comes with so much pride.
These games will be the first time Canada's Paralympians will be paid for podium finishes. It will be the same amount of money as Olympians. More than 2 million tickets have been sold so far. Wheelchair basketball star Patrick Anderson is competing in his last Paralympic Games. He's hoping to lead his team back to the podium.
We are an underdog. There's no way around that fact. But that doesn't mean we're not going to compete. And doesn't mean we don't have a chance to knock off some of these teams and get in the medal rounds. We're going to leave it all out there.
As many of these athletes continue their long Paralympic careers, they hope to inspire other athletes across the country to dream big. Kwabena Oduro, CBC News, Montreal.
In Dawson City, Yukon, a statue of the Trondakwetchen's most influential leader has been gifted to the First Nation. Now, thanks to that generous gesture, he will forever stand tall, looking over the Yukon River to the Moosehide village. Chief Isaac was the leader of the Han Nation during the Klondike Gold Rush. When 30,000 settlers came to Dawson City, Isaac welcomed them to his community without prejudice. He's now described as a visionary who fought to preserve the history and culture of his people. The statue was created by 2 local artists, and it was gifted to the Trondakwetchen by a local placer mining company. The First Nations chief says he wants future generations to see the statue and know they came from a long line of strong leaders.
The younger generation, we don't want these people to forget who contributed to our successes and where we're at in this day and age. And without that recognition, then my biggest fear and the community's fear was these people would be forgotten.
A plaque recognizing past and contemporary Trondakwetchen leaders will be added to the statue later this year. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. We leave you with a look at the 2024 Street Eats Festival in Whitehorse. The annual festival ends this evening and features the top street food vendors in the Yukon capital. Attendees can also enjoy live music and performances from the talented artists at the Yukon Circus Society. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Focus. Here we go.
Oh, imagine how good the TV's gonna look now.
Oh, God!
This is incredible.
Did you know this?
As if.
Could the pressure be any higher?
How can any of this be fair?
Now, you might think, hey, we just need more doctors, but that's not really it.
A Russian scheme here
shows you where it starts, where it ends.
Were you really willing to risk that job?
Yes. At Thunder Bay's favorite festival, Wake the Giant.
Ta-da! There it is.
Physical activity helps you feel younger, so you can age better. Everything gets better when you get active.
Hi. Yeah, you can come on over.
I'll be right there.
I feel better already. It's got to come from the heart.
I will cry. They're so together.
Spicy.
Now we're all just getting the sillies.
How much more connected do you want to be?
Yeah.
Is this a team meeting? Because I'm part of the team.
See you there.
We got a snake on the plane. What?
Prepare for emergency landing.
Hang on, guys.
Alex likes things safe. Maybe you just haven't been taking the right risks. You might find you like dancing with danger.
Wasn't easy growing up on Sargent Avenue. Bunch of Icelandic boys, nobody wanted around. But hockey was good to us.
We're signing up then, George. Only if Connie here joins up with us.
And the war came along. Broke up the team. But we were needed, and we went. It cost us. Too much, maybe. I don't know. But I do know one thing. We still got some fight left in us, right, boys? It's the game we've been saving it for. For us. For Canada. For the boys of Sargent Avenue.
The Winnipeg Falcons served Canada in the First World War. 2 teammates never made it home. The rest went on to win the very first gold medal in Olympic hockey.